Hi everybody. Sorry, I'm getting notifications. Doing something a little different today because I am running behind. I guess the reading that I did recently about May predictions has also been very prevalent for me because this week alone I have recorded 3 different podcasts, edited 2 of them, launched 1 of them, and had multiple meetings with clients internationally and here in the States. So this is my first time going live. I honestly don't even know. It's supposed to save this video and post. Hopefully that's what happens because I have never gone live before. I'm not gonna lie. So this is my first time doing this. But honestly, I'm running so far behind today that I don't have time to shoot the video, edit the video, and upload the video today. So you're getting me live. All right. Let's find out what the circle needs to know today. I don't know if I'm supposed to wait for more people to show up. Probably. Whatever, we'll just try to catch people up as they show up because, like I said, first time me going live. There's gonna be a little bit of a process, I think, to this situation here. But I see that one of you is here, so I'm not by myself anymore. So that's cool. I don't know how to tell who's here. It just tells me like 1 and then there's like a little person icon, so hi. Okay, so let's find out what the circle needs to know today. I keep seeing the 10 of Pentacles, which is cool. That's awesome energy. All right. Let's pull these cards here. Interesting. Okay, so the first card that came out was Judgment, followed by the 9 of Pentacles, followed by the 2 of Wands, the 4 of Pentacles. Ooh, look at that. And Death. I didn't think I was going to be able to hold all of them at one time, but I was, so woohoo. Okay, let's see here. So as I mentioned in yesterday's video, for those of you who have already watched it, I got a lot of questions from all of you that were submitted to the Magic Hat readings, asking how to have better relationships with spirit, how to be more authentic, how to connect with yourself and be more connected to your higher self, and like a whole bunch of more spiritual questions that have, I guess, more to do with those types of realm. You guys know what I mean. What's cool about live is you get to see me mess up all the time just because I don't get to edit it out. All right. So anyway, that being said, today I asked how you can be more authentic. Since these are the questions that you all are asking, I'm getting multiple questions of them. So this seems to be on the circle's mind. And so that being said, let's talk about that a little bit here with today's reading. So for those of you who are just joining, we had the Judgment card. We had, I'll just hold them up again. Judgment. We had the 9 of Pentacles come out. We had the 2 of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, and we had the Death card. So a lot of major transformations happening. And I know a lot of people get worried about the Death card, but the truth is the Death card's usually very positive because it means that something is ending so that better can come in. It's also a card of spiritual awakening, which is definitely what's going on with a lot of you right now, especially with these very in-depth questions, asking about authenticity, asking about being, closer to your higher self, having stronger spiritual connections with your guides and with spirit. And so when it comes to talking about authenticity, with the Judgment card and the 9 of Pentacles being next to each other, I'm seeing that in the past, you've really been judgmental of yourself. You've had a lot of just like negative self-talk. Maybe your confidence wasn't where it needed to be. Maybe your self-worth wasn't where it needed to be. And you made a lot of decisions based off of those types of energies. But what's cool is the 9 of Pentacles is very much an independent energy, stepping into that power. being more authentic, being more okay with being alone, being more okay with being by yourself, being more okay with being who you really are, and being a little bit more unapologetic about that. So what I'm seeing here is that's the first step, is when you're trying to be more authentic with yourself, you have to start with your internal self. You have to start with where you're judging yourself harshly. You have to start with where your mindsets maybe are not really helping you, where they're kind of holding you back. Maybe they're making you see things from a skewed perspective. And you have to learn to connect to that higher voice and that higher version of yourself and really be unapologetic and step into your power and be like, this is who I am. This is who I was meant to be. And you either take it or you leave it. Now, to be clear on that, that doesn't mean you can be an asshole and just like, oh, I'm going to be toxic and be nasty to you and you should deal with it. That's not what I mean. So don't, mix up what I'm saying here. But being confident enough to be different, being willing to stand out, because honey, you were born to stand out. You were born to come into this world. You have wonderful gifts. You have wonderful perspectives that other people don't have. And so having that ability to step into that and be unapologetic with it is awesome. Then we have the Two of Wands. And so the Two of Wands has a lot to do with options. Sometimes it has to do with travel. In relationships, it can have to do with having a wandering eye or going after things kind of for the wrong reasons. And so when you are in this kind of judgmental state about yourself, where you have these sort of negative self-talks and things like that, you have more of a tendency to step into that sort of energy where you're just kind of like, okay, well, clearly something's not right. So, things aren't going my way. So maybe I need to start looking for outside validation. And that's really not the best way to get to know yourself. First off, if you do it that way, you're going to end up going through a lot of heartache and a lot of pain because you're, number one, not living in your authentic self. But number two, when you do that, you are like, instead of being able to have that self-awareness and not put yourself in those situations that end up being disappointing, you end up having to go through that experience and having to learn the hard way. And so what I'm seeing with the Two of Wands is that you've really got to continue on that path of not looking for outside validation. In order to really be your most authentic self, you have to be willing to stand out. You have to be willing to kind of have those awkward moments and those sort of misunderstandings with people. Because as you have more spiritual awakening, you start having a different perception and a different understanding of the way you connect with other people. And there's going to be a lot of things that are just not going to do it for you anymore. There's going to be a lot of loss because you're going to lose a lot of people that are not on that level, who either don't agree with you or want to be stuck in their toxic ways or don't understand why you're making these changes. And so you have to kind of be confident enough to step out and be willing to have these spiritual awakenings, be willing to sort of lose anything and not have that attachment, so that the good things that are meant to be there will be there. Because the thing about spiritual awakening that people get worried about, especially when they get cards like the Tower or like the Death card that we have today, is that a lot of people think that, okay, I'm gonna lose this thing. So they start holding on tighter and tighter and tighter. And what that does is it doesn't actually end up helping you, and it doesn't end up bringing any kind of flow energy or positive energy into your life. Because when you're in that state, you're not in a flow state. And you're in a very, what's the word here? Like when you're very attached to something. I'm gonna give an analogy because I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. If you pick up sand in your hand, right? And this is weird because this is like way up here. If you pick up sand in your hand and you hold it, right? When you hold it like this, there's more sand that's gonna stay in your hand. The more that you go to clench your hand and hold on tighter to the sand, the more those particles are gonna fall through your fingers, fall out of your hand, and when you open your hand, the less sand you're actually gonna have. That's kind of a good analogy for how these spiritual awakenings and how the energy needs to be. When you're trying to be more authentic with yourself and you're trying to step into that energy, you have to be willing to lose certain aspects, say, hey, universe, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, but not hold on so tight that you end up restricting what can and how it can come to you. So loosen up a little bit. And it's funny because that's kind of the same thing as the Four of Pentacles that we have here. The Four of Pentacles is about holding on to what you have because you're so afraid of losing it. Here's the thing about that. Oftentimes when we think we're standing in our authenticity and when we are trying to manifest the things that we want, we think that in doing that, we have to sort of hold on really tightly. We have to sort of make things happen. But oftentimes you'll come to find that anything that's meant for you, and this goes for people or manifestations, you can't miss out on it. It's gonna come to you, but you can't force it. When you're in that forced state and you're holding on, it makes it difficult for other blessings and things to come in, because also when you're holding on so tightly, you end up not being able to be open to better. And that's part of the problem with being authentic and going through these transformations and these spiritual awakenings, is we often think because what we've experienced may be the best part of what we've experienced thus far, we think, oh, I have to hold on to this or I'm going to lose it because there's not better out there. Sometimes there's way better out there. It's just that you don't know that it's out there because you haven't experienced anything better than this so far. You have to release some of this attachment. And when you do that, that actually opens you up to what we were talking about with this card of not looking for that outside validation. It opens you up to being more at peace internally, which allows you to be more in your authentic energy. Because when you're not constantly holding on to things and rushing after things and chasing things and being in kind of that desperate sort of energy, you are able to bring in much happier things that are more in alignment with you. You're able to go into more of a peaceful state of mind, which allows you to think more clearly. It allows you to be more creative. It allows you to look at problems differently. It allows you to handle those problems where it's not just like, you're not reading my comments. I saw them. I don't know how to like respond, but I saw that you said, tell me about it. This is my first time going live. Sorry, I apologize. You're gonna have to bear with me a little bit here. Unless I'm missing other comments that you put down there. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, essentially I was saying that it allows you to be more in a peaceful state of mind. Because when you're constantly trying to survive and you're constantly chasing after things or you're constantly in this more desperate sort of energy, it puts you in that survival mode that makes it hard to be in a positive mindset. It makes it harder to be more creative, to have more ideas, to handle things differently. And it makes you a little bit more judgmental because you're in a more stressed sort of state. When you release some of that stress, things start to flow a lot more easily. And so that just brings us to the death card, which is, I would say, literally the death of these negative mindsets, the death of one chapter closing and a new one opening. This is spiritual awakening at its best. And so really, to get to the very root of who you are and be the most authentic you can be, it is constantly pulling back these layers. And I talked about this a little bit in yesterday's reading for those of you who did see it. Yesterday's reading talked a lot about how people think that your relationship to self is so different from your relationship to other people, but that's not really the case. And they think that because they're like, oh, but it's just me. But the thing is, there's so many people who don't give themselves that time. They don't give themselves that safe space. They don't hold up their healthy boundaries. They don't stand up for themselves. They don't show up for themselves. They don't go after their own dreams, but they'll be there for everyone else. You have to put in that effort and that time. You have to keep trying to get to know yourself. And I said this yesterday too, is a lot of people think that, oh, one day it's just going to be a finish line and like, that's it. That's not really the case. You're going to constantly be evolving, so you're going to constantly be learning new things about yourself. Your authenticity is going to shift in terms of, I don't know, when you were a kid, you may have loved Care Bears. But then as you get older, that's not your favorite show anymore because you're older and you evolved and you aged and you changed. It's the same thing as your relationship to self. It's the same thing with your spiritual awakenings. It's a constant process that is reiterating on itself. It's evolving just like you're evolving. But your job is to really make sure that you're giving yourself that care, that time, that love. You need to make sure, if you really want to get to the root of who you are, you have to be willing to face all the things about yourself that you love and all the things that maybe you want to change, and learn how to love those aspects of yourself. And we talked about yesterday closing the gap between our higher self and our shadow self, and how that elevates everything, because when you show love to your shadow self, that energy that is so negative slowly starts moving up a peg. And so what happens is your entire well-being and your entire spiritual awakening and everything starts slowly moving up a peg too. And so it's very important that when you're looking at trying to be your most authentic self, it's not so much about shoving the things down that you don't say like as much about yourself, or the things that you're ashamed of, or the things that make you angry. It's more of giving it a safe space, that makes sense. A safe space. And it allows you to kind of really get to know all aspects of yourself, because yourself is going to be like everything else in the laws of the universe. There's going to be positive sides, there's going to be negative sides. Happy, sad, angry. There's going to be all these different layers, all these different moving pieces. As you get to know each piece and you're able to kind of break that down and kind of get into a deeper understanding of that, you're more able to step into that level of authenticity, step into that level of abundance. And I've said this before because we actually saw the Ten of Pentacles a lot I did. You guys didn't see it because... Anyways, I saw the Ten of Pentacles, and the Ten of Pentacles is about happiness and fulfillment and abundance in all areas of your life. But in order for you to achieve that level of abundance, you also have to understand yourself on a very, very infinitesimal level, because you have to be able to align to that kind of energy. When we're talking about happiness and fulfillment in all areas of your life, then you also have to realize that you have to have that authenticity in all areas of your life. And that can get very tricky and very complicated when we start talking about our spiritual side. When we start talking about, okay, this is who I am at home, this is who I am in business, this is who I am for this, you start realizing that all this stuff is interconnected. None of it's truly separate. No matter how much you try to separate it, no matter how much you look at things from a logical or rational perspective of trying to be unbiased, it's all still going to tie into each other. And so when you're really taking a look at your authenticity, you have to look at it from a grand scale and then break it down into little pieces. So my main, advice for you is to make sure you're giving yourself that time and that space. You can do that through meditation. You can do that. Some people like to work out or do yoga, and that's the way they kind of declutter their mind. But taking self-care moments. And self-care is going to look different according to what day it is. There's going to be days when you just need to relax, take a bubble bath, and drink some champagne. There's going to be days when you need to cry. There's going to be days when you're angry and you got to go for a run or whatever to try to get that anger out. But you really, if you want to really truly connect with yourself and you want to be your most authentic self, you have to build that relationship. And part of that is through self-care. And so thank you all so much for joining my live. Hopefully this video saves. I will post it if it does. It's supposed to. This is my first live. I don't really know how the live part works, but thank you so much for those of you who joined. Some of you I know joined a little late, so hopefully you can watch the rest of this video. But as always, may your life be full of light, full of love, abundance, and gratitude. I'll see you next time.